A U.S. military aircraft reportedly went dark near the Strait of Hormuz after an emergency signal, raising fresh questions over whether Iran's forces were involved. Donald Trump's support aircraft allegedly disappeared from public flight radar as it neared Iranian airspace. Was it a technical emergency, an operational blackout, or something far more serious? One emergency squawk code was reportedly transmitted, and then silence. As the aircraft vanished from tracking screens, speculation grew over what Iran may be planning behind the scenes. Is Iran making Trump's men pay for his claim that the Strait of Hormuz is open? There is no official confirmation of an Iranian action, but the timing has intensified the mystery. With Mojtaba Khamenei now at the center of Iran's power structure, Tehran appears determined to remind Trump that control over the Strait of Hormuz remains a major source of leverage. In a stunning turn of events, a U.S. military support aircraft reportedly transmitted an emergency code while flying near Iran and the strategically crucial Strait of Hormuz. An American E-3G Sentry AWACS aircraft reportedly transmitted the 7700 squawk code over the Strait of Hormuz, a signal generally used to indicate a possible emergency situation during flight. Shortly after the emergency signal was reported, the aircraft appeared to disappear from publicly accessible flight tracking radar over or near the Strait of Hormuz. The unexplained radar disappearance fueled speculation that Iran may have targeted or interfered with the aircraft, although neither side has publicly confirmed an attack, interception, or military engagement. The reported incident came amid heightened tensions between Iran and the United States, with their disputes over negotiations, sanctions, and security in the Strait of Hormuz continuing to raise fears of escalation. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the United States fulfills the conditions set out in the interim agreement between the two sides. Iran's top negotiator, Mohammad Bakr Kalibaf, made the statement on August 18, according to comments carried by Iranian state media and reported by Reuters.
And let me make it clear, until America implements its commitments under the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade on the release of frozen assets, lifting the oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to under the understanding, the strait will not be reopened.
The Memorandum of Understanding reached on June 17 quickly unraveled after Iran and the United States disagreed over control and reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. President Donald Trump declared the agreement over on July 7, while Iran's foreign ministry said 1 week later that the deal had been suspended. With diplomacy stalled and no progress toward a permanent settlement, a senior Iranian official said Tehran would shift to a fully offensive military posture. Trump also posted a map labeling the Strait of Hormuz as U.S. territory, adding another provocative layer to the escalating dispute over control of the strategic waterway. Trump's latest comments on the Strait of Hormuz came as he spoke with UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan about the rapidly developing situation in the region. The UAE president received Trump's call, with the two leaders discussing bilateral cooperation and the broader challenges unfolding across the Gulf. Trump and Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan discussed ways to further strengthen U.S.-UAE ties as tensions surrounding the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz continue to rise. The two leaders exchanged views on the latest developments in the Middle East on August 18, as uncertainty over the Gulf crisis continued to grow. Trump and Al Nahyan also exchanged views on ongoing efforts to address the Gulf crisis, with their conversation coming amid heightened tensions over the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. As UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and Donald Trump discussed the escalating Gulf situation, Iran's foreign minister also commented on Tehran's policy over the Strait of Hormuz and its conditions for de-escalation. Under Dr. Pezeshkian's administration, greater priority was given to neighboring countries. Look, during the first 2 weeks of the war, there was no request for a ceasefire from the United States. We do not want the 12-day war, which was halted by a ceasefire but then resumed several months later, to become a pattern that is repeated in our country. Iran's foreign policy is a continuous process. Each government may move it forward through a series of initiatives, a different kind of dialogue, and new initiatives. But our foreign policy has a number of fixed principles that every government seeks to advance. Under Dr. Pezeshkian's administration, greater priority was given to neighboring countries. And naturally, prioritizing neighbors also entails certain requirements. One of those requirements is eliminating any tension in relations with each of our neighbors. It also means expanding relations and creating new grounds and new capacities in those relations. That is why, alongside the neighborhood policy, we also launched a policy of provincial diplomacy. And this, interaction with Azerbaijan president directly, has strengthened his conviction that, genuinely, through dialogue and interaction, it is possible to achieve results that cannot be achieved through tension, quarrels and interference. In fact, they provided very significant assistance, including supplying some of the goods we needed, medicines and similar items, and allowing stranded Iranians to return to the country through their territory. They cooperated extensively. Some of our aircraft even entered through their routes. Politically as well, they expressed sympathy, sent messages of condolence, and sent congratulatory messages to our dear leader. Look, during the first 2 weeks of the war, there was no request for a ceasefire from the United States. Some countries were asking to step in, for example, to move things forward, establish contacts or mediate. Our response to all of them was clear, and it was a response the president also believed in. We do not want a ceasefire. We want an end to the war. We do not want the 12-day war, which was halted by a ceasefire but then resumed several months later, to become a pattern that is repeated in our country.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.